All right, folks, let's talk about a game changer, literally. If you're a brand or retailer in the outdoor industry, think of Endeavor like the ultimate power-up for your sales game. This platform is designed to level up retail associates, giving them the XP they need to master your gear, sell more, and rack up rewards along the way. It's like a cheat code for better sales, making sure your products don't just sit on the shelves but actually move. Why is this valuable? Well, trained and motivated staff sell way more gear. Brands using Endeavor, like K2 Sports and Smith Optics, have seen better sell-through, stronger brand engagement, and real data insights on what works. And here's where Endeavor gets really interesting. It's gamified. That means learning about products and earning incentives feels fun and not like homework. But there's also a couple of other power-ups you'll want to consider. First is their partnership with Locally, so online shoppers can instantly find a knowledgeable staffer in a nearby store ready to seal the deal. Second is an option known as Freemium, where you can launch brand assets, push newsfeed posts, and coordinate rep clinics. And with Endeavor's pay-as-you-go plans, you can take sales contests, education campaigns, or collect staff insights collection programs all out for a test drive. The bottom line, if your retail game is feeling like it's stuck in easy mode, Endeavor is the upgrade you need to unlock next-level sales, max out your team's knowledge, and beat the boss when it comes to customer experience. Head to Endeavor, that's endvr.io, to learn more today. Welcome to the Rock Fight, where we speak our truth, slay sacred cows, and sometimes agree to disagree. This is an outdoor podcast that aims for the head. I'm Colin True, and today my merry band of rock fighters and I have some innovative advice for the outdoor industry. But first, come back to the Rock Fight this Wednesday, where Justin Hausman and I will be talking about some of the things making news in the outdoor community. And also come back to the show on Friday, where I'll either give you an outdoor hot take or we'll go deep on a topic with one of my Rock Fight cohorts. And lastly, it's time for you, the listener, to subscribe to this show and also to Open Container, the newest podcast on the Rock Fight Podcast Network. It's hosted by outdoor industry legend Doug Schnitzbahn. And all you need to do is tap the follow button on whatever podcast app you're listening to right now, and then also go and subscribe to News from the Front, Rock Fight's weekly newsletter. It comes out tomorrow, so head to rockfight.co and sign up for that now. And hey, stick around. We'll be right back. You're listening to Rock Fight Radio. Oh, you got DJ CT back with you spinning the hits, and it's that time because we have another new song from that hit machine, Fitz. And Fitz wants to ask you, why just settle for a smart sock when you can opt for a smarter sock?
You've got a million choices lying on the floor. Thin ones, thick ones, even some you never wore. But there's a sock whose specs rise above the rest. Don't settle for a smart one when the smarter sock is best. Opt for the smarter sock. Fitz. Fitz is the smarter sock. Fitz. Whole foot comfort is the answer to the question of the knit. Fitz. Opt for the smarter sock. Fitz. Whole foot comfort is the goal. It's only common sense with 4 different patents. The difference is immense. The Y line's added volume really is legit. To the next level comfort of the fit we call Fitz. Opt for the smarter sock. Fitz. Fitz is the smarter sock. Fitz. Whole foot comfort is the answer to the question of the knit. Fitz. Opt for the smarter sock. Fitz. The smarter sock. Fitz. Fitz is the smarter sock. Fitz. Whole foot comfort is the answer to the question of the knit. Fitz. Opt for the smarter sock. Fitz.
And now, back to the show. All right, it's Monday. That means I'm here with Eoin Comerford and producer Dave. And guys, we have great news to open the show with today, because I saw this morning that the vast majority of Tesla Cybertrucks have been recalled. So Karma is alive and well in 2025.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah. I didn't think that it was possible for somebody to come out with a vehicle that made you look more like a douchebag than the Hummer to H2.
Yep.
H2. I thought we would never
that was
get
the pinnacle.
And that was the pinnacle. And then I mean the Cybertruck just said, hold my beer. This is the I mean I actually did just reflexively flipped off Cybertruck yesterday, and I'm like,
You
"Hey,
can't
Owen,
help
come
it.
on. They might be a nice person, Owen. You've got to be the better person here." But it was reflexive.
They're
I
not.
couldn't. Okay.
There was, and again, like, we don't know all the Cybertruck owners. Maybe there's some great people
Maybe
out
there's
there.
some lovely
Maybe there are. But I was pulling into the ice rink. I had a game, and there was a kids' game going on beforehand. And coming out of the rink, there's a parent who was just being an absolute dick to his kid. It couldn't have been more than 10, maybe 11. Just, berating them on the way they played, whatever. Guess what vehicle they walked up to get in to drive home? And I'm like, this is Central Cat. You can't make this up. Like, it's just
Right.
like they didn't go to like the Toyota Camry. They went right to the Cybertruck.
Doucheroo.
Yep. Dave, commentary on the Cybertruck?
I'm speechless. No.
What outdoor action figure, Rockfight action figure, would drive a Cybertruck?
None in our stable.
Yeah, that's right.
Nope.
Yeah. Well, I love that headline. So good luck on you, Tesla. Hope it doesn't work out. But we're going to get into it, though. We have some things going on today. And today's opening shot is presented by Garage Grown Gear, which is your hub for ultralight gear. Learn more by heading to garagegrowngear.com. And the crew and I, we were talking, there's a fair amount of doom and gloom going on in the world right now. We talked a bit about that on last week's episode, on the Monday episode. But today we want to offer some innovative solutions to the outdoor industry. And innovation is a word that kind of gets overused in our space, and I think is frankly deployed as a crutch by many. And I'm not talking about performance innovations, product performance innovations. We're talking today about how the outdoor industry can improve itself by doing things differently and maybe help solve some of its own problems along the way. And before we get into our recommendations, I want to have a quick kind of go around the table on innovation, right? We're probably a bit of a broken record on the pod about how we need to evolve that word. But, Owen, you posted on LinkedIn this week about our episode here in the Rock Fight about the state of the outdoor economy. Everyone go back and listen to that episode if you haven't yet. And, of course, there were those who commented about how outdoor brands need to get back to innovating in order to pull us out of our current situation. I mean, when do you think people will recognize there's not much left to innovate from a product point of view at this point?
I think there's always some amount of innovation to come, but I'm just not sure what people expect. Like, what are we gonna come out with that's just going to absolutely change the way that people interact or buy outdoor product? The categories are relatively set. They haven't changed in 50 years or what have you. The shell that you buy today isn't that dramatically different than one you bought 30 years ago. So the things that we do, I mean, yes, there are innovators that come out with new products and new materials and new technologies, or even, new categories like we talked about the BioLite folks. I mean, that's innovation, right?
Right.
But on the whole, it's a lot of the same sorts of things. And unless it was some AI powered, I don't know, jacket, right? I don't really know what's going to totally change the world from an innovation perspective.
Like
now,
Marty
I do
McFly
think
style, it zips itself up, kind of like, kind of thing.
I do think some newness from a brand perspective, from a product perspective, it would definitely help. But I don't think that's what's necessarily going to turn around the outdoor industry here in the short term.
Well, that's a good point. So, Dave, you and I, we both worked at a fabric maker once upon a time. I mean, and the material makers are the ones who typically have to solve these performance problems. I mean, do you see an opportunity for innovation in the industry?
Yes. I think maybe
what specifically? And detail it out right now.
Well, I think defining innovation beyond a product performance metric is probably where the industry could be looking at. Is innovation a more holistic term for all of the sides of the business, from how we cultivate our communities, how we build sustainability into our systems, how do we the stances and the policy activism that we take. There's a lot of individual brands that have done these specific things well, but very few can do all of them well. And maybe that's the innovative transformation that needs to happen. We just need to get better at the suite of things we know we need to be doing. And at the same time, product is the core thing that we're talking about here, and
right.
moves. And so, and in that case, like you mentioned with fabric, I'm not so sure we're going to see leaps in terms of functionality. Is this going to be that much more waterproof or that much more warmer? Maybe. But we're certainly going to see changes in how things are made. right? The closed loop aspect of stuff, bio-based, so really the sustainability of both material and process is
Yeah.
the innovation. And it's
Yeah.
iterative by nature. It's going to be harder to get leaps, but I do feel like we've now been searching and researching and kind of figuring stuff out that, you add AI computation on top of that. Could we be in for some truly innovative compounds, materials, or processes as a result of that? Maybe so.
I think part of my issue though is, first of all, what was the last major innovation in the outdoor industry to come from an established outdoor brand, right? And I just feel like there's so much that's very just iterative and evolutionary within brands themselves. And I think back of some of the things that, like, even just on the footwear front, Hoka, right? A new brand that came from out of nowhere, totally different look. Grew up during the, even the barefoot thing came out of, Vibram Five Fingers. Okay, Vibram obviously outdoor brand, but it wasn't really an outdoor brand. It was a material,
It's an ingredient brand,
or ingredient brand, exactly. Or Vivo Barefoot, or some of those folks, right? And then some of those within the industry, like Merrill and others, sort of jumped on that bandwagon. Even Ultra with their Footbox, that they weren't really a mainstream brand before they came along. You look at On Running, same thing, right? And I think a lot of what we tend to do is within the industry, we tend to geek out ourselves about things and get super excited. You talk about it, Colin, about a 1% increase in breathability, and the rank and file customers just don't care.
They don't.
They just don't care at all, right? We get, we're all about PFAS. Again, most consumers don't know what that means and have no idea what it's about, right? And so we do talk about materials. We talk about these minor improvements in performance, when the reality is consumers care about the way things look, okay, and the way things feel. But actual nth degree performance really is not part of what they're about. And you look at back to the footwear thing again. Why is On Running so great? Is it because the performance of an On Running shoe is that much better than anything that Nike can do or anything that anyone else can do? No, because you look at it, it's got a really interesting, differentiated look to the sole, to the footbed, and people look at that and they go, "Oh, that looks like it's really cool. I can see where that flexes. I can see how that is a new technology." Right? Same thing with Hoka. Like, you look at Hokas, you go, "Oh, those things are super light, so I can feel that in my hand, and it looks like it's going to be super comfortable. So I'm gonna buy that." And I just think we miss that so many times in our industry, again and again and again. We miss the visual tech aspect of what we do, and we focus on the internal performance and the internal materials, and consumers don't give a crap.
Yeah, I think there's a gross misunderstanding of like how our stuff gets made. I mean, and we're going to get into it with our first suggestion, but there's I imagine there's a fair amount of people, even in the industry, who think that maybe brands actually make the stuff that they actually produce. We know consumers think that, right?
Yeah.
And so they think, oh, brands need to do a better job with this. Like, no, brands are mostly shopping. And by the way, like, the three of us right now could develop an apparel brand and have off-the-shelf solutions that would be completely comparable to most of the best outdoor brands going right now. Just, again, we could concept a few things, get a few samples made, and within, 30 days, we'd probably have an outdoor brand just buying stuff off the shelf, just basic, kind of silhouettes. I'm not saying it would be successful, but it's not a stretch to start something these days the way that it used to be, where it was like, hey, there's a handful of people and they're really kind of pushing the boundaries of what you can do. And then there was this handful of material makers who were supporting their efforts. That's not the way it is anymore. This entire kind of infrastructure has grown up around it, which is probably then a good way to kind of get into the first thing we want to talk about as a suggestion for a new type of innovation for the industry. And it's the antiquated way we approach buying, making, and selling things, particularly apparel, which is our largest category. So it does take up a lot of the conversation here. The fact is, in the outdoor industry is kind of held hostage by a two-season approach to buying and selling. We have self-imposed long lead times. We ask retailers and brands to forecast seasonal specific products 12 to 24 months in advance of the season those products will be available to consumers. And then the vast majority of that, kind of like we're alluding to, is fashion-driven. So we also have to predict color and trends 12 to 24 months in advance of when those products will be available to consumers. So why is it this way, too, by the way? Because the only real answer to that, I feel like, is, well, it's the way we've always done it, which to me is the worst answer you can give to almost any question. Like, well, That's just what we do and how we do it. So, you posted about this, I think just yesterday, Eoin.
Right.
I know this is airing on Monday, so it came out last week. You posted about it last week, and you have the most retail experience on this pod. Why can't the industry evolve past this kind of thinking? It kind of like and I guess, or even if you want to start with how do we, what's the idea behind sort of shrinking, that schedule?
I think, unfortunately, you hit on the answer. It's the way we've always done it. And we're stuck in these just major seasonal manufacturing cycles. And actually, I would argue, if anything, the order timing has gotten earlier over the years, right? Than it used to be, right? I mean, at Moose Jaw, we were looking at the following fall's product, right? Samples and trying to, put together early POs, et cetera, in October. Okay. So, and
so
that
this
stuff
fall,
would be
you would have been planning for 2026.
Correct. October of 25, we would have been buying for fall of 26, which would have started to deliver in August, September. So almost, if not 10 months in advance, 9 or 10 months in advance, right?
And stuff you would have been looking at in the fall would have been in development at the brands you were looking at it for the previous, 6 to 18 months, depending on the brand you're talking to.
Yeah, probably 6 to 12. I mean, basically, for a brand new product, it's 18 months, I think, is the average that I'm hearing out there. Some are faster, some are slower, but it's like about 18 months. But you've got the actual development cycle on the front end with all the prototyping, et cetera. Then there's a big rush to have samples made for all of the sell-in cycle and for all the reps, et cetera. And then there's the actual whole production cycle. But it's not like it couldn't be faster. I mean, fast fashion, I know everybody rips on fast fashion because it's unsustainable, disposable clothing, yada, yada. But they're turning around a new design concept in 6 to 8 weeks. So from a design, line drawing of a design to showing up on the shelf in the store, 6 to 8 weeks. Now, people are going to say to me, Eoin, you're an idiot, because that is some just flimsy dress or skirt. We're designing technical performance apparel. And I totally get it. I totally agree. But that doesn't mean that we can't move from 18 months closer to, 8, 6. I'm not suggesting we're going to get it done in 6 to 8 weeks, but you can absolutely cut just a shit ton of time out of it. And it's actually, I feel, it's one of the biggest deterrents to innovation that we have in our industry, is because that process, that 18-month process, is very expensive. You're going to go through round and round and round of prototyping and testing and all this other stuff, and then it's going to get all the sampling and all the things and all the stuff. So the only ideas that make it, first of all, there are some amazing designers in our industry, right? And I guarantee you they're frustrated because some of them come up with some really great stuff that never makes it out of the design studio.
Out of the CAD drawing. No, maybe it doesn't even get sampled.
Right, because it's like, no, we've never done a style like that before. Why would we do that? That's crazy. And so it never makes it beyond there. And then I'll probably get some hate mail over this, but
I hope you
also,
do.
What is that on your jacket? What is that over there? Oh, that's a bright color. Oh, sorry.
But what will happen too is, let's say the designer does come out with something. It gets sampled. It goes into the sales meetings with retailers. And retailers, we can be pretty conservative ourselves, right? Because now we're risking our inventory buy on this product. And we're like, I don't know if we're going to do that. I mean, I can't tell you how many styles we at Moose Jaw got excited about from, brand X, Y, or Z. And then, 3 months later, we get a revised PO back. Hey, we didn't get enough.
We're not making that one.
We're not making that one.
No one wanted the green.
Yeah, not just the color, but like a whole style would be gone.
Yeah, right. Oh, good, right. Good point. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, nobody wanted the 4-inch inseam on that short. But that's what's cool. Like, sorry, no, all the 50-year-old white guys that are buying this product.
12-inch only, 12-inch inseam.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it could be a huge unlock if brands just not. And I get it. You're not going to get all of your products down to 8 months or whatever because you've got this endemic side. Right. Just do a skunk works. Let's take 10%. Build this product like almost, like micro capsule stuff, get it out there, see what works. And then if it does take off, now you can go through your whole buy-in, sell-in cycle and you've got something to lean on.
But that's what I mean. Like that's the opportunity is, again, think a little bit differently. This is innovation. Okay, innovation is not just iterating on performance. It's how do we approach this whole thing? Because I think we're closer to 6 to 8 weeks than maybe we even want to admit because of what I said just a few minutes ago about kind of off-the-shelf products. Better basics to everybody right now means like T-shirts, underwear, the real easy, very simple things. Better basics could include waterproof, breathable, insulation, very basic kind of things. There's a lot of products that are well made, that you can just pick a color and have stuff made. If a brand wanted to, they could easily, on those sort of better basic outdoor products, probably come to market with something really quickly on a much more regular cadence, did not need to wait for the fall sell-in for the following fall. There's ways to solve for all that. And then for your more sort of, again, top of the mountain, to use the kind of old school pyramid that we always refer to. If you want to develop fabrics, if you want to develop something a little bit more interesting, and you have a little bit of a longer lead time thing, because this is the sort of, core kind of thing. I don't know. I'm kind of like just spitballing here, but there's a lot of ways you could kind of slice this apple that result in probably a lot more flexibility in terms of like getting things that people are going to buy more regularly while also producing more interesting things. And you have a little bit longer lead times to do that. And there's none of, I guess the frustration here, I'm not trying to sell anybody on this thing that I'm saying or even what you're saying, is that this conversation just isn't happening. Like, who's having this conversation? Who's even looking at it? Why aren't retailers demanding it? And why aren't brands looking at it and saying, wow, we could really be more valuable to our retail partners and frankly, even our own D2C channels if we did this a little bit more regularly? And you could probably still do it much more sustainably than fast fashion, but it is taking a lesson from that world.
Well, from a sustainability aspect, I think actually this could be better, because one of the issues that we have is that, again, we're trying to order this stuff and figure this stuff out 12 to 18 months in advance. You can never be right? You've no idea.
No way.
Things change, tastes change, color, tastes change, all these things.
Is it going to snow?
Right. Oh, exactly. And so you've got all this product that you're making on hoping, right? And you're always going to be wrong. There's going to be hot sellers that are going to sell out, and there's going to be other items that are just going to sit there, and then until you mark them down and you have to blow them out in clearance, right? So if you could more realistically tie production to demand, that would be way more sustainable than the way we do it today. The other key word that you said there, Colin, was iteration, right? And innovation, speed of innovation is directly correlated to shortness of iteration, right? So in other words, if you're iterating on a product every 18 to 24 months, it takes forever to get better. Each one, unless you're making actually gargantuan leaps within each one, which is not typically what we've seen in the industry,
right?
It's just going to take forever to get to true innovation. If you're iterating every 6 months, you're basically innovating 3 times faster than you are today. So really, I'm not sure why we aren't getting there, but it just feels like the inertia of the industry is against it.
Yeah, and there might be some, I don't know, maybe like a Patagonia Snap tee. Maybe they do manage that inventory more. Like they could probably have some they're changing colors every season, so maybe something like that. There might be something like what we're describing, but it just seems like this is a topic that, to your exact point, everyone's just going to shy away immediately from that kind of fast fashion comp. So if we need to call it something else, let's call it something else. But there are lessons that can be learned. Like they are changing the apparel world. And why can't we just adopt what actually is working well for what they do into what we do?
Accelerated apparel instead of fast fashion.
Or considered apparel. Considered production. I think though all this conversation is kind of missing the 800-pound gorilla in the room in terms of how far away we make our stuff. I mean, you're talking about getting closer to demand and production. Well, how about weeks on the water, right? How about all of that aspect and the unsustainable nature of that? Like, make things closer to home. It doesn't take as long to iterate. It doesn't take as long to innovate. It doesn't take as long to get that consumer feedback. And, there's obviously that's a flip statement on a much deeper topic to that. But the reality is we choose not to make things here. We're not forced to. Okay.
Well, you're not talking about full-on production runs. You're just saying even like sampling. Brands could invest in the capability to make one-offs of any garment they want to make.
Of that statement. You're right. Yeah. There's a lot that can be done to that, and you certainly know design studios that have relationships with prototype, facilities and are able to create collections. And look, a lot of these brands use these third-party design plus production houses in order to create their collections. So they're not doing it themselves, but the model does exist. right? And so I think that again.
Yeah, I mean, certainly Zara, in Spain, most of their production is on the Iberian Peninsula for that very reason. It's in Portugal, it's in Spain or nearby, so that they can nearshore it and get it out there. Now, I do think, obviously, the current tariff conversation has driven a lot of conversation about bringing apparel manufacturing back to the U.S. and it's not as easy as it sounds. I guess there's a lot of upskilling that needs to happen. There's a lot of infrastructure. We don't have the mills here, so even if we are going to bring it here, a lot of the fabrics will have to be imported. So I think that there's a nuanced conversation to be had there, but I think it's a worthy one to have. And even if it isn't U.S. made, if it's just nearshored, I think you could actually absolutely cut down on the environmental impact of transporting those goods.
Like that rogue nation of Canada, is that what you're talking about? But
I think Arc'teryx can make almost anything in their line on site, even if it's like a one-off.
There's a great ecosystem up in BC for some of this in terms of prototyping to design and development, and I know that it's hard, and I know that it's a deeper issue that's going to take a long time to build those capabilities, but it's going to take longer if we don't start. I mean, that's really the main issue. If every company committed to 10 to 15% of their line, then we would start to build the resources that we need to do this.
Right, but they're not going to do that.
I was the visual tech. I was going to get. The big difference is between design innovation and scientific innovation. Right. And that's where you said that scientific tends to lead to things that are unseen and not necessarily consumer appreciated until maybe after it becomes just fait accompli. Right. Like the fact, waterproof used to be such a big point. Wow, like everyone had to point it out. Now I expect it. Right. Well, that's a scientific advancement that makes that possible. Where design innovation is, does it look cool and does it function? Is there a functionality to it? But that's not. Those are just totally different forms of innovation. Both necessary, both lifeblood of the industry, but they just serve different purposes.
Well, and just because I'm down on like performance innovation, it's not that I'm down on it as an idea. It's just going to take longer. I mean, there's things happening. We talked about it in the pod before, right? I mean, we spent like 3 years trying to develop spider silk into something, and it's when those things happen and they're happening behind the scenes, they're going to be interesting and change things. But I think we have too much of a long memory with a lot of folks in the industry who still remember when it seemed like every few years a new thing was coming out. And it was all this like, oh, you can do this now. Oh, there's 4-way stretch. Oh, we have this breathability, blah, blah, blah. And now it's like there hasn't been as much. And everyone's like, well, we got to get back to innovating. Like, no, we kind of innovated everything. Like we got to on a performance
isn't
level.
That a very human enamored with their own place in history kind of approach? You have no idea what we haven't innovated yet.
Yeah,
right?
You know what we're doing? We're innovating the innovation to get the PFAS out of it. That's what we're innovating now.
We have to take a step back and realize, oh man, I'm poisoning the planet with all of this innovation.
Right. So let's innovate that. That's innovation.
But the idea that there is a paper thin material that is both heat and cold resistant to incredible variances. Sure. Why not? It doesn't exist now. No. Doesn't mean that it can't.
There's going to be plenty of innovation. I mean, it's just a matter of making innovation that people will care about. It's like the Nike Air Sole and the fact that, it was a great innovation, but nobody cared until they put the little window on the side and you could actually, the consumer could see it and understand, like, oh, wow, that's really amazing. Right. Yep. So,
that's what On did.
So we tend in the industry, I think, to innovate for innovation's sake, which is great, but you always have to keep the customer in mind because otherwise they're not going to be willing to pay for it.
Nobody really cared about the astronauts until they came out with Tang. Like that's really the.
Right. Oh, I can have that too.
Now I get it. Okay.
And astronaut ice cream?
Space program.
Oh my God.
A-okay, right? I got orange powder drink.
By the way, I think Nike Air and the On technology are both kind of bullshit, and they still sell billions of dollars worth of product. So, this goes to show, it looks cool. That's what I want.
Bullshit technology that the consumer can understand will always outsell a brilliant technology that they don't understand.
That'd be a great brand.
That is the VHS beta corollary right there.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, there
This
you
is
go.
better. Yeah, but this is easier.
Yeah, done. And the porn industry adopted it. Okay.
Yes. Oh, well, porn's on board? Well,
Right,
then it's got to
right.
like they know. They always know what they're talking
They
about.
drive everything.
Before we move on to the next one, we want to remind everyone, Garage Grown Gear, it's your hub for all things ultra-light backpacking, and they've got an epic thru-hiking giveaway running right now. There are over $15,000 worth of prizes from dozens of the best ultralight backpacking brands like Hyperlight Mountain Gear, Gossamer Gear, Western Mountaineering, and Z-Packs, just to name a few. They will be choosing 10 winners in just a few days, so go ahead and enter now before it closes on March 26th. That's 2 days from now. You have 2 days to enter. So go to garagegrowngear.com and enter the thru hiking giveaway so you can get upwards of $15,000 worth of prizes. And don't go hiking in your bullshit technology. I don't think there's any bullshit technology on Garage Grown Gear.
No.
Absolutely not.
I hope not.
See, Dyneema. See, there you go. That is an actual material technology that people care about.
It is interesting, though. I did this in a parting shot. So I got my Nordas, which have Dyneema in it. And if you look at their marketing, they are all over the Dyneema. And I'm like, 99% of the people who buy these shoes aren't not going to give a shit about Dyneema, right? Frankly, it's the fact that you can double your mileage. That's how you get people on board with these shoes. It's like, this is worth 2 pairs of shoes. Okay. I will else buy these shoes. The Dyneema, you learn about it. It's great. It's going to last forever. That's awesome. But just go with the simple thing. Show me the benefits of running this. Dyneema, it's cool, but like double the mileage. That's way better. All right, our next solution is presented by Obos, who loves hiking and wants us all to talk more about hiking. You know, the activity we love, but no one else talks about.
Colin, I have to interrupt. Does Obos just like hiking?
No, they love hiking.
Thank you.
They're the Cupid of the outdoors.
Well,
there you go. We're going to count the ways we love hiking, just like Obos does, in a second. But first, we want to talk about experiential marketing, right? So we want to see the industry innovate on the front end of how we're making our stuff, bringing it to market. The next innovation, it isn't all that new. I say it's more experiential marketing. There was an article that ran this week on modernretail.co about how American Eagle, the mall like jeans brand, is planning to drive interest in its branded products through pop-ups and more community engagement. And I know that a fair amount of these types of things happen in the outdoor industry, but I don't think it's at a scale that it should happen. Outdoor brands and retailers alike need to step up the community engagement, especially now when it's kind of a crazy world. This is an opportunity to bring people together. And it's not only just good for business, it also increases access and creates a more welcoming environment for potentially marginalized groups as well. So, Dave, what can showing up as a community do for a brand?
Blow your T&E budget out of the water. But
I don't have any tech reps currently, so.
No, look, again, we're calling it an innovation only in the sense that it's an underrepresented core tactic, right? That brands have deployed for forever. I mean, it's how else do you show that you belong within a community or a group without being there, without showing up? It's part of the origin stories of brands. Yeah, I'll take the Nike and Phil Knight selling shoes out of the back of the station wagon. All add to, many brands have stories like this in terms of how they first get out there and show a product and the people that rally around it. And when you're talking about experiential, you are talking kind of what we referred to before. You're talking about community. You're talking about loyalty of people. You're talking about, building that trust that you are an authentic, talking about authenticity in terms of how do you demonstrate that. So I think that's what we're really talking about with experiential. It's not just I'm going to put my pipe and drape up and sell some product at the event. But it's more about your people of your brand talking and interacting with civilians, if you will, and they get to see that there are humans behind the digital facade. I mean, this is also a natural, I would say, counteraction reaction to our D2C internet-based, kind of functionality that has taken over so many brands' thinking in terms of their primary form of advertising and outreach is now through Meta and Google. Right, and the loss of other aggregating forms of media is a part of that. So where else can I go? And I think that's it's probably a good thing. I think the more that we can get out there and and meet folks and be able to have one-on-one human interactions and conversations about the things we're making and why is better. It's gonna result in stronger sales and stronger loyalty.
I'm sure the retailers do a better job of the brands in this. I think the good retailers are pretty engaged in their community. I'm probably looking more at the brands, but like, Owen, when you look back on your Moose Jaw times, do you have any retail examples of like this, experiential stuff being done well?
I think most of your better run stores have runs, right? And that's actually
run clubs, right?
Run clubs. That's one of the biggest drivers of just repeat traffic. And it'll start at the store, it'll end there. Maybe there's a coffee shop along the way. Whatever, they bring in coffee and donuts. I mean, that's just that's sort of retail 101 is what I would say. And I think hike camp climb stores can do much the same, but don't from my experience. Now, some of them do, and it's amazing, but a lot don't. And like I think back on just getting out and hiking. Columbia, for example, in the UK, started something called Hike Society. So instead of High Society, it's Hike Society. Fun. But basically, yeah, you got that. Okay. So the no flies on you. True. You're just.
I actually did until you pointed it out, but it's okay.
Okay. So anyway, but what they're doing is they organize hikes all over the country, and they would promote them through their local retail, et cetera. They would involve local community groups that were involved with hiking. They would invite maybe local influencers, et cetera. But they invited everybody. It's like, come on out, have a hike. And the great thing about hiking is that you don't really need equipment, right? It's just like a run. I mean, yes, obviously you need decent running shoes. Hopefully hiking, you're got some decent hiking boots, but the rest of it, whatever, come as you are. And I think that's kind of the important thing with some of this experiential stuff is saying, how do we take those outside activities and not just focus on the top of the mountain stuff? Let's focus on the bottom of the mountain stuff and the middle of the mountain stuff and the stuff that people can do in their backyards or slightly in the exurbs or what have you, where people can really access the outdoors, and we can be part of having that access happen. Like one of my favorite events around Detroit back in the day was for ice climbing. And you think ice climbing, wow, that's a really kind of niche-y thing. But really, some crampons and a rope. I mean, you can, most people can figure it out. And there was this one area in suburban Detroit. They had this old crane, this big tall crane, right? And they ran a water hose up there, and then they put some plywood, and they would just run water down this plywood for months while it basically froze into a sheet of ice, and then we would go out there and we would have ice climbing in suburban Detroit. It was amazing.
It's
right?
awesome.
So those are the kinds of things that you can get really innovative. Snowshoeing, same kind of thing. It's like, does snowshoeing have to be in the deep backcountry? No, you could do snowshoeing in a city park. Like, just get people out. That feeling of walking on top of the snow, it's like you never forget that the first time you do it. But so many people will never experience that, right? But there are stores that do a great job and organize snowshoeing, in those environments, and there are some that don't. So I think that's really the way you have to think about it.
Yeah, this is something that I always feel like it's been underutilized at the outdoor space. And now I do think it's really important now as we're kind of in this kind of weird time, but both economically and obviously socially as well. This is where brands and products and the activities we do, they're kind of tailor-made to bring people together in this way. But it also, like, the thing that inspired this for me to want to put in the outline, the fact it was like American Eagle, like kind of getting it. They're going to do like a denim deli. And I'm just thinking, yeah, you know what? If I was I think it's in Nashville, if I showed up I don't know, if it was really well executed, all of a sudden it's like, yeah, American Eagle, cool shop. I'm going to go shop there again. And that's just sort of your everyday wear kind of stuff versus like what you're talking about. You might expose somebody to ice climbing for the first time, again, in Detroit. Like, how would, that's important. Right, that's saying, like, here's something that you maybe didn't understand that you wanted to go and do, and you don't have to go to some big mountain state or even like the UP to go discover it. And also then it just kind of, I go back to the stuff I always talk about with, create interest in your brand that isn't just the thing that's going to be delivered in 18 months, like we spent the first part of the pod talking about, right? I mean, I talked about it before, the ASICS Trap House, where they built a trap house in New York City, and then this cool little launch, and it was this whole thing. You had to go in and put money in a box, and then you got your shoes. Like, people love that stuff, and it gets you PR, and it creates brand loyalty, all of these things. I think this stuff should happen all the time, and I think now is an absolute a necessary time for more of this stuff to come out, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, as we rolled out stores across the country, one of the things that we did was we would try to get hooked up with a microbrewery in that town, and they were sort of our unofficial microbrewery friend. And whenever we would have an event, we would have their beer there. In some cases, a custom brew for that event. And there are some amazing outdoor stores out there that are. Some of them have bars in the store. Others have coffee shops in the store, like Neptune in Boulder as an example. So there are definitely great stores out there doing this. It's not like we're just coming up with this idea.
I think the stores are always the willing participants. It's like, hey, brands, like bring some things to the stores, right? Endear
100%.
Yourself.
Yeah. I mean, I remember back. I think it was Marmot or Mountain Hardware, one of those. Used to do. I think it was a wine evening. I mean, but it was basically it was actually for it was like a women's event, and so you shut down the store, and they would bring in extra product, and then there would be wine and cheese and whatever. And but those sorts of things, I think, if the brands can be more, to your point, pulling together these programs that are available for their retail partners to really connect with consumers about the product, or better yet, using the product. I think, there's just not enough of that happening.
Retail, in a sense, is an experiential tactic, right? And so they're closer to it because that's what they are, right? So the idea of building an experience in real life is just, how that's all structured. And the one thing, like even with American Eagle, that gives me a little pause, like, yes, they're leaning into experience, of course, because probably relied too much on, a dying distribution channel of malls and too much D2C. So what do you do? And
we have an Orange Julius. What else do we need?
Right. Everyone's talking about, and so they're going to have their denim deli, which that type of promotion is nice, but it's still not getting it that experiential is beyond just hawking your product in a new place.
Totally.
Right. And I guess that's where I get to.
They make jeans. I mean,
Well, but I guess to that point, like we were talking about expanding what snowshoeing is, and it doesn't have to take place, 3 hours from the city center to do that. And now you're bringing in a whole new group of people in terms of their experience level and appreciation. And that can take place not just in snowshoeing or running and hiking. It can be in, like you said, urban parks. It could be art and museums and places to go to admire things out there, or universities and lectures and folks that are doing things and studying the outdoors and imparting knowledge. Those are all experiential opportunities too that your product is a part of, rather it's a literal youth function or just that we're living in the same ecosystem and we all have these shared interests. And this gets back to our activism and promoting understanding of what's being done and conservation. Like all of this is around that, and create opportunities and avenues to expand and experience. Right. And I think that's just being able to think outside of just that transactional aspect of an experience is super important. A layered approach to a brand.
And it's working out there you look at Dick's Sporting Goods, for example, they're investing millions of dollars in their new House of Sport concept. And that's working. I mean, they're doing $35 to $50 million per door, in those stores, because people are coming from miles away to experience those stores. And because in those stores they have batting cages. You want to go and you want to test out some different baseball bats, they've got batting cages. You want to test out a putter, we've got this beautiful putting green. You want to hit a driver, we've got a driving range. You want to test out the basketball, we've got a basketball court outside, right? And so that is truly experiential, right? And that's working. Not only is it working from a sales perspective, but actually Dick's Sporting Goods is getting a better deal on their real estate because they are drawing traffic to the malls where they're located. And so the landlords are fighting to get those locations, and they're willing to pony up millions of dollars to build them out to get them into their locations because of the draw of an experiential retail experience. How many times can we say experience and experiential in one sentence?
We should count them and have a counter at the end.
Maybe that's what we should do. The drinking game for this podcast in general. Okay, drinking game number one is the word innovation. That's the first shot, right? And then for this particular podcast, though, if you say experience or experiential, that's a different shot. Maybe we get we'll do like a lemon drop versus something else.
We should have said at the beginning. I could add like a little sound effect.
You need to cut that out. What he just said, and drop that at the beginning, just as a non sequitur, right before you get in or in between. That would just be a funny little, just like.
I just hope that we don't want people driving on the way to work on a Monday morning and just getting hammered.
I read a thing. So Kyle Frost, friend of the pod, Kyle Frost had a thing last week about Neurona. And he referenced a lot of sort of failed omni-channel attempts by other brands. I'm being a little more on the nose than probably he was. He was very good about how he wrote it. But the REI experiences and Evo's tried some things, and just sort of like everyone wants to sort of expand their footprint into other things. Can these types of experiential marketing sort of accomplish what a lot of omni-channel strategies are trying to accomplish, but it's kind of at a lower cost or investment? Is that kind of a bridge too far to kind of suggest, or are there some dots to connect there?
I think they don't have to be $1 million things. I mean, obviously, Evo has spent a lot of money on different things, like a hotel for skateboarders in Salt Lake City, and I have no idea how that's doing. By the way,
Hotel for Skateboarders would be a great movie. By the way, I
think that was called Kids.
But a lot of these things that we're talking about, bringing in a keg of the local microbrew, organizing a hike, snowshoeing in the park. These are not large dollar type of activities.
Well, that's what I mean. So if brands would again recognize these things as like ways to sort of again expand their reach, all this really is, right, is a fight for brand loyalty in a lot of ways. How we approach what they bring to market. Just the more these kinds of events, there's a lasting impression, I guess is what I would say.
A tech rep is experiential marketing.
Well, certainly.
You're bringing the word out, and you're interacting face to face, in places.
Who has tech reps anymore? Who are the brands who still do tech reps?
I would love to know that. There's got to be a few,
right?
I would love to know that.
I would love to know. If you're a brand listening to this and you have a tech rep team, myrockfight@gmail.com. Because as a former tech rep, I am a big tech rep proponent. Yeah. And to Dave's point, that goes a long way in sort of these sorts of relationships. To have somebody show up at a shop that is not just a sales rep, that is from the brand, and sort of take the staff out, bring them stuff, whatever it is, but even just clinics, that goes a long way. So I'm curious about that.
It does. I agree.
Well, today's episode of The Rock Fight is presented by Oboz, who is helping us ask the question, how much do I love hiking? Let me count the ways. Number 1 today, weather drama, sun, fog, rain, sometimes all within 10 minutes, especially if you live where Dave lives.
Not funny.
Well, come on, it's almost April. It's misty drizzle season, right? And sunshine.
Misty drizzle season, yes, until July.
I'm in Michigan. We're in fall spring number 1 right now.
Fall spring.
Was it like 63 degrees, kind of?
It was 72 degrees yesterday, and it's snowing today. So yeah.
No, so fall spring number 1's over.
Winter's back. It's over.
Yeah, it's right.
I just have to say we're living in a gaudy 47 degrees and raining, but don't worry, it feels like 35.
Number 2 in today's list, the existential crisis at the summit. Wow, I am so small, but also I am a mountain conqueror. Are we okay with the word mountain conqueror? Do we conquer mountains? I don't think we conquer mountains.
I don't think so. Not anymore. No, that's very.
We've canceled conquering mountains.
Yeah, that's very. Yeah,
I'm a co-inhabitant of this mountain.
That's
I'm going to lobby the Trump administration to bring conquering mountains back. I think they'll do it for me.
They're on it already. Don't you worry.
Absolutely.
Number 3, moss is surprisingly fascinating. Soft, green, thriving on rocks. We should all be more like moss, don't you think?
I do. I like a lichen. You bet.
Should we make I like Ike bat like pins, but I like lichen?
I like lichen. Yeah. Yes, we should.
Number 4, hiking means finding your soulmates. In this case, roads, rivers, and trails of Milford, Ohio. If you find yourself in the greater Milford area, pop in and say hi to the folks at Roads, Rivers, and Trails. Maybe buy a pair of Oboz boots while you're there. Check it out. I'm sure they have a few. And lastly, hiking means the Oboz Katabatic collection, which has added the all-new Katabatic LT, which takes the whole collection to a new level with a lighter package, improved performance, and additional environmentally friendly materials, fast packing, day hiking, whatever your fancy. The Katabatic LT is your hiking shoe of choice. And this hiking appreciation moment is brought to you by Oboz of Bozeman, Montana, certified B Corp, 6 million tree planter, and proud inhabitant of the greater Yellowstone ecosystem. Oboz is the maker of premium quality footwear for the trail and the Cupid to the outdoor world. Oboz, love hiking.
What does katabatic mean? Is that an actual thing?
Sure. It's a good word they probably made up. I don't know. Actually, it's a good point. We can Google it. Is that a word?
I guess I could have just Googled it rather than ask you.
Actually, yes. Katabatic refers to a... This is actually pretty good. Katabatic refers to a wind that blows down a slope or a hill due to gravity, formed when cold, dense air flows downhill, and can be a strong, dry wind, especially common in areas with high altitude terrain like Antarctica.
Yeah.
So it's a wind.
It's a wind.
And it's their fast packing shoe. Actually, I'm pretty good. Pretty good, Oboz. Not bad.
All right.
Heard way worse names.
It's a cool word,
Yeah.
But I didn't know it actually meant something. So
it's no Zephyr, but it's a good word.
No doubt.
There must be outdoor products called the Zephyr.
I bet there's a ton of it. That's why they call it the Katabatic.
Exactly, yes.
Right. Yeah, right. Mm-hmm. We can't call it the Zephyr.
That's right.
All right, it's time for the parting shot.
It's time for a party shot.
And, today another Authentic Brands owned licensee, this time F21 Opco, who's a licensee for Forever 21, has bitten the dust. I hear they and Liberated Brands are going to meet up for a beer later. With that in mind, our own Eoin Comerford has our parting shot today. What do you got for us, Eoin?
So the ever more ironically named Authentic Brands Group, we talk about it a fair amount on here, and people might wonder, well, why are you talking about these guys, right? And it's because actually they have quite a lot of brands in the sports and outdoor segment. Obviously, there's all the Liberated brands you talked about: Volcom, Billabong, Roxy, Quicksilver, Ruka, Element. They also had Spider, an iconic brand. They have Eddie Bauer, Reebok, Champion, Hunter Boot, Fry, also Fry Boot, Sperry of the Topsiders fame, Prince.
Wasn't Sperry a Wolverine brand for a while?
It's part of Authentic Brands now.
It was.
Prince of tennis fame, and then Airwalk, which is like a skate shoe brand. But so there's a lot there, right? And the latest news out of Authentic Brands that didn't really make much of a ripple, I would say, in our industry, is really, to me, emblematic of the issue with this business model and why we as an outdoor industry want to stay as far away from it as we can. It's the fact that they proudly announced that we're going to have Roxy dolls, which are basically ripoffs of like Bratz, in Target stores. So that's great. So the Roxy brand gets to do that. And we're also going to get Roxy and Quicksilver branded pool inflatables, canopies, beach chairs, and various other very generic looking product that's available exclusively in that ever authentic place, Amazon.com. So that is what happens when all you care about is your licensing revenue rather than any kind of long-term brand health. This is what you get.
Can we change the name of Authentic to just the zombie brand manufacturer? Like they're just the virus. I mean, just like we take you over and make you immediately less authentic in this space that is built on authenticity.
ZBG, Zombie Brand Group. Yeah, that's it's
Zombie Brands Incorporated.
Yeah, there you go. A to Z. Uh-huh.
Well, all right, Authentic.
Such a bummer. Yeah, such a bummer. It's definitely it feels like the final nail in the coffin of action sports as we knew it. You know, if the sale of Liberated wasn't the final, this certainly is. Roxy, cheap plastic Roxy dolls. I mean, they're not even like Groovy Girls or, you know, something that's got a little bit of craft to it and funky originality. It's just as banal as it gets, and we'll have to pour one out for Roxy.
How does this process work? Because I'm trying to picture, you know, is it just literally like, well, Roxy's, you know, they do a lot of surf stuff, a lot of beach stuff, so we'll make some, you know, beach and pool toys and stuff like that. That makes sense, right? I mean, like, who's pitching this and getting it approved? You know, or is Authentic just like the highest bidder? We want to license this brand to make these products with it, and this is what we're willing to pay to do it, and then they can kind of do whatever they want if they get the deal. Is that how this works?
I think theoretically there are brand managers within Authentic that do decide where things show up and in what categories. But it's split so that they have their whole roster, and it's split by all the different categories of products that are out there, and you basically bid to buy a category. So I'm gonna give you whatever 6% of the wholesale revenue to be able to be the official toy person for Roxy, or the official beach chair person. And that's probably outdoor furniture as a category. And so what you're going to see is a bunch of Eddie Bauer stuff slapped everywhere, quite frankly, showing up in Target and every other place too, right? So it's the same kind of thing. And Eddie Bauer went through that, I think, one other time in its history back in the 90s. I want to say there was like crappy Eddie Bauer knives were showing up in different places. So
Ford Explorers.
The Eddie Bauer Ford Explorer. That's right. And you used to get a pair of Eddie Bauer chairs with your Eddie Bauer Ford Explorer.
Wasn't there also Ella Bean Ford Explorers?
Probably.
I think that's the Subaru, actually.
Was it the Subaru? That's right.
Yes.
You're right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. But absolutely, it's really whoever is going to pay, and it's all about how much milk can you get from this brand before you just kill it.
Should we do a crowdfunding thing where we could buy something or like we could go pitch on that Rock Fight pitches something and we could take something over?
Yeah, we'll do like a hidden camera, expose where we go in and we do something really, really dumb, and
sounds about right.
And we pitch it and we get on the hidden camera, like what we get these Authentic brand guys, just getting all lathered up about the licensing potential for, I don't know.
Airwalk. I want Airwalk. Dave, you want Airwalk? You want to do something with Airwalk? That used to be cool.
They did used to be cool. Right. They did.
So maybe if somebody could email us the dumbest thing that we could pitch to Authentic Brands for one of their existing brands. That's just believable enough that they would go, right. Oh, yeah, okay, sure.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Right. Just write us a big fat check, guys. We got this.
I did, this whole thing made me think. You said the process of how this happens. Yeah. So I got this brand Roxy. The Roxy is surfwear. Surf equals beach. Beach. That's umbrellas. The sun is at the beach.
That's what I'm saying.
Right? And the water is at the beach. Oh, inflatables. Got it. Okay. And that's the brainstorming of how they get to their product category.
I'm trying to picture the meeting. That's why I asked. Like, I'm like, how does this work?
Roxy.
Especially, but like you can go to Amazon right now and buy umbrellas and inflatables for like $4.99. So why do I need a Roxy branded version of any of this shit?
Because it's $8.99, Colin. It's $8.99. That's why.
It's double the price,
right?
But it's Roxy though. It has that Roxy DNA. Colin. You don't get it.
This might be the saddest one of all of them. Honestly.
It does feel like that. It really does.
Yeah. Well, good parting shot, buddy.
Thank you.
I guess that's it. Anything else, guys?
No. I'm gonna go have a drink.
All right. Dave's gonna start drinking. It's almost noon. You're good. All right, we'll wrap it up there. Check out the latest from the Rock Fight Podcast Network, Open Container. That new episode comes out tomorrow. The Rock Fight is a production of Rock Fight LLC. Our producer today is producer David Carsad. Art direction provided by Sarah Gensert. For Eoin Comerford, I'm Colin True. Thanks for listening. And he's here to take us out fresh from Wake and Bake in Gainesville, Florida. It's Krista Makes. He's warmed up and ready to sing the Rock Fight fight song. We'll see you next time, Rock Fighters.
Rock fight, rock fight, rock fight. Rock fight, rock fight, rock fight. Here we go. Welcome to the Rock Fight, where we speak our truth, slay sacred cows, and sometimes agree to disagree. We talk about human-powered outdoor activities and pick fights about topics that we find interesting.